What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TVs. Before I get into this video, I want to give a big shout out to the brother Gregory Braun for the donation to the channel via the Cash App. Much respect to him for showing love to Too Raw for TV, aka Too Raw for Sports. So, a new poll shows former President Donald Trump leading President Joe Biden in 5 of the 7 swing states, with a 6th state showing a two-way tie. New polls show that former President Donald Trump leads President Joe Biden in many of the most critical swing states. The polls, conducted by Bloomberg News and Morning Consult, were taken in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, 7 key battlegrounds. And the returns don't for Biden, specifically when it comes to the... I think they made a little bit of an error in this. They probably meant, and the returns don't look good for Biden. And whoever the editor of this article, do your goddamn job. Do your job. And the returns don't for Biden. Don't look good for Biden. Specifically when it comes to the economy. It goes on and says, swing state voters trust Trump significantly more than Biden on the economy, 49% to 35%, with independents holding even less trust in Biden on this key issue, 47% to 25%. Morning Consult reported among the 1,323 self-identified independents across the 7 states, Biden is 10 points behind Trump on the ballot that includes third-party candidates, and he is 8 points behind Trump in a direct head-to-head. So that indicates to me, that poll, that you can make the argument that third-party candidates are going to hurt Biden more than they do Trump, which is what I've always felt. Because you got a lot of left-leaning candidates, prominent candidates. RFK Jr., although he does have support from conservative and liberal voters, my belief is that Trump voters are more heavily motivated to vote for Trump this time, whereas many Biden voters, I told you back in 2020, what did I tell you guys? I told you that a lot of people that were voting for Biden were really voting against Trump. That Biden's support was soft. That's why a lot of people said, well, how the hell did Biden get 81 million votes? It wasn't because they were out there just so firmly entrenched for Biden. Some people were just voting against Trump because they were frustrated and angry with the economy, with the recession, with the pandemic. They were just angry. But this time, there are some people who, with the opposite effect. There are some people who are going to vote for Trump, and this will be the first time this will happen ever, really. Some people are going to vote their anger toward Biden and vote for Trump. That wasn't even the case in 2016. That's why I think Trump is in a very advantageous position this time. And that goes to show you that Trump's support is a lot more concrete, it's more solid. They're voting for Trump because they like Trump, more voters. But you're going to have some who are going to vote for Trump just because they're sick of Biden. You're going to have a lot of people who are going to vote for Cornel West or RFK Jr. because they're sick of Biden. So this is the situation Biden's in. When you think about it, just think about it for a second. Isn't this kind of similar a little bit, potentially, to what happened to Truman in 1948, when the liberal and the conservative wings of the Democratic Party bolted? RFK Jr., for all of his conspiracy theories, he's a more conservative Democrat, right? A lot of his views, a lot of his viewpoints, a lot of his positions, while they do attract some liberal voters, a lot of his viewpoints attract moderate and conservative voters. So he's going to take some independents, some Democratic coalition voters who just thought the Republican Party went too far, right? He's going to take a lot of those guys away from Biden. Then you have Dr. Cornel West, who's running on the Green Party ticket. Now, I don't think he's going to do nearly as well as RFK Jr., but he might get 1% of the vote. And in a close election, that could be the difference between Trump or Biden carrying one of these states by a narrow margin. So Biden is possibly in a position that Truman was in. The thing that hurt Tom Dewey in that election in 1948, if you go read about it, is Tom Dewey was ignoring his instincts. Tom Dewey was run out the clock. Tom Dewey had this substantial, huge lead, and his team told him, when they saw Truman was out there, whistle-stop tours, going hard at the 80th Congress, going hard at the Republican Party. Tom Dewey was being aligned with the very unpopular 80th Republican Congress. They told Tom Dewey, just sit on your lead. Don't do anything. Just sit on your lead. But Tom Dewey started noticing that the crowds that were big and boisterous in the summer and early fall, for the last few weeks of the campaign, he noticed the crowds were getting smaller. People in the crowd were yawning. Versus Truman's crowds, when they saw them, they were there. They were interested. The crowds were getting larger and larger, and some of them getting enthusiastic. And this worked. Part of the reason why Dewey lost is voter apathy. A lot of his supporters stayed home because the media said it was inevitable that Dewey was going to win. So some of his supporters stayed home. So anyway, I don't think it's going to be the case with Trump. His supporters are very passionate. And by the way, I don't want to make it seem like I'm a Trump supporter. I'm not. I'm just a person that's on here telling you how I feel. Okay. I'm looking at some of this right here. Okay. So Trump is beating Biden. You probably can see the graphic right here. Trump is beating Biden in Nevada, 52% to 41%. A Republican has not carried Nevada since 2004, when Bush beat Kerry. Trump has a 6-point lead in Georgia. Now, of course, Biden became the first Democrat since Bill Clinton in 1992 to carry Georgia, but he only carried that state by like 11 or 12,000 votes. Arizona, leading toward Trump. Once again, Biden was the first Democrat since Clinton in 1996 to carry Arizona. As a matter of fact, I believe Biden was just the third Democrat since Harry Truman in 1948 to carry the state of Arizona. Michigan, leading by Trump by a substantial margin. And Pennsylvania is being led by Trump by a substantial margin. Now, the thing that's scary about this is Nevada. Nevada had actually turned into a safe Democratic state. But the fact that the Democrats have been hemorrhaging Hispanic voters is killing them. And that's why Trump is over 50% in Nevada. That will be a major loss for the Democrats and Republicans pick that state up. And you're seeing a lot of states that have trended Republican over the last couple of years. Ohio used to be a battleground. Remember, the election came down 2004 to Ohio. Bush beat Kerry by like 120,000 votes. Obama carried Ohio twice. But over the last two election cycles, Ohio has turned reliably Republican. So that's 17 electoral votes that are safely in the Republicans' column right now. I want to look at this article to see something else. I think North Carolina is the battleground, I believe. But anyway, if you took these states away from Biden right here, if you took these states away from Biden, he would lose the Electoral College 299 to 239. And that's not taking into account some other states that are very, very close that could go either way. New Hampshire is a state that can flip. I've been noticing Maine has become closer and closer. Uh, I believe Trump got an electoral vote from Maine the last couple elections. So you just don't know, man. Virginia. Now, Virginia has been reliably Republican. Matter of fact, Biden carried Virginia by over 10 points in 2020. But the very next year, as we all know, Glenn Youngkin came back and rallied for an upset Republican victory for the GOP governorship over former governor and Democrat Terry McAuliffe. So who knows how Virginia might vote this time? You don't know. Biden's in the toilet right now, man. 37% support. A year away from the election, that's the lowest any president's been since Jimmy Carter. And Jimmy Carter was at 32% support. This was right around the time that the Iranian hostage crisis started in November of 1979. And Jimmy Carter wound up losing to Ronald Reagan in one of the biggest landslides in history. Lost 44 states, only carried 6 states in the District of Columbia, lost the popular vote by 10 percentage points, lost the Electoral College 489 to 49. Now, I don't think that Biden would lose by that margin because the polarization of this country is just too much at this point in time. I think Biden's probably going to get at least 200 electoral votes. I think. If he gets under that, then he's really doing terribly. But, man, if Trump got to 350, 375, man, that's an ass kicking. And it is what it is, you know. They're in trouble, man. They're in trouble all the way. I saw another poll just yesterday. I did a video about that on my Patreon, where Donald Trump's support for black voters is at 22%. And I think Biden's at like 73, 74%. Now, let me tell you something. That sounds like a lot, right? But it's not. To put that in perspective, George W. Bush, when he ran in 2004, got 11% black support. That was considered a win for the GOP. A win. Because Barry Goldwater in 1964, when he ran against Lyndon Johnson, only got 6% of the black vote. 6%. Ronald Reagan, when he was running in 80 and 84, was only getting like 7-8% of the black vote. The last time a Republican candidate got anything close to 22% was Gerald Ford. I think he got 16% of the black vote in 1976. The last Republican candidate to get more than 22% of the black vote was Richard Nixon back in 1960 against John F. Kennedy when he got 32% of the black vote. So I'm telling you right now, if Joe Biden were to lose 20% of the black vote, he's not going to win. He's not going to win. He's not. He's not. He's not going to win. He's not. And I don't really see much change in the polling. I know the media is very liberal, so they're going to try to, attack Donald Trump. They're going to do it. They're going to attack Trump on his ethics, and they're going to phase out RFK Jr. as much as possible if they feel like that he's hurting Biden. They're not going to talk about Dr. Cornel West running. I know what they do. They do that. The media overall is liberal. So they're going to try to help Biden. Plus, Biden is a status quo president. The status quo loves him. Nothing's going to change under Biden. There ain't going to be no. There's not going to be any reparations. There's not going to be anything that's going to uplift people like you and I. They're not going to pass any bills that are going to help everyday Americans with their rent and groceries. They're not going to do anything to help average Americans. You saw how when they had those devastating fires in Hawaii, this son of a bitch gives people a $700 check where their cars are literally melted to the goddamn roads. And hey, here's a $700 check. But meanwhile, we got $14 billion to give to Ukraine and $14 billion to give to Israel. Another $40 billion in financial aid to Ukraine and this country and that country. He's a status quo president. And I think people are waking up to that. I think people are finally starting to wake up to what's in the White House. And it ain't our friend. And I'm not saying that Trump will be better. But this guy is the worst. He is the worst president, in my opinion, that we've had. In my opinion. Joe Biden is the second worst president we've ever had behind James Buchanan. And the only reason why James Buchanan is the worst, because James Buchanan sat on his hands and let the Civil War happen on his watch. He let it happen and got out of town and left that mess for Abraham Lincoln. So he's the worst. But this man right here is the second worst president. And we can't afford to reelect, in my opinion, an 81-year-old man to the presidency who'll be 82 years old when he's reinaugurated. We can't afford that. Not with Kamala Harris waiting in the wings. But tell me what you guys think.